Hello and welcome back to the 30-day music theory challenge, where we are learning something new about music theory every single day. And today is just a review day. Everything we've learned in the previous lessons we're going to cover again today. So I do recommend that you take notes, but there is also a PDF that has everything that I'm covering throughout this challenge already made for you. I'll link it down below. Now first we learned the musical alphabet, and the musical alphabet is similar to an alphabet that you might already know, but when we get to G, we don't go into H and so on. We start over with our letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we only use these letters. Now for extra credit, if you can remember the alphabet from starting from C, then I recommend that because that will help you later on in the next few lessons, and we'll review that too. So if I were to ask you a quiz question for you to write the musical alphabet, writing it this way or this way would be the correct answer. Next, we learned how to draw a keyboard. So I'm going to do it here in real time so that we can do it together. So you just draw a big rectangle like this. I tend to draw them open. And we need some lines here, and as long as you have 8, that's great. So I'm gonna go ahead and start drawing my lines. They just need to be wide enough for you to be able to write a letter. Here we are. Mine are not very even, that's okay. And so I'm gonna write the musical alphabet starting from C. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and I would keep going. Next, we're going to draw the black keys, and there's a black key between C and D, a black key between D and E, and nothing between E and F. So be very careful not to put anything between E and F. Leave that space. Then a black key between F and G, G and A and B, and that's it. Nothing between B and C, and if you notice C and D, there's a black key because look up, you already drew it before, so if you have more keyboard, you can continue your pattern. C and D in the next one, so the pattern would repeat. So if you were to approach a piano, a keyboard, and if I were to ask you to find letter C or note C, you would go to the left of 2 black keys because the pattern here is 2 black keys, 3, 2, then 3, 2, then 3, 2, then 3. After learning how to draw a piano keyboard, we then learned the C major scale. The C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C. And then we learned the amount of space between each note. The space between notes is called intervals. But we learned the space pattern for the C major scale. And between C and D, go ahead and look up for this. There are 2 keys, right? 2 halves. We have the black key and the white key we're landing on. So we call that a whole step. Look up again. Between D and E, we have those 2 half notes. 2 halves equal 1 whole. Then between E and F, there's no black key. These 2 are adjacent. So we call that a half step. Whole, whole, half. Now between F and G, we do have that black key, giving us a whole step up. G and A has a whole step. A and B has a whole step. And then B and C are next to each other, giving us our final half step. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So this pattern is something that I did ask you to memorize. The whole scale step pattern of wholes and halves. Because I'm going to write part of my whiteboard here. Actually, if you need a screenshot, go ahead and take it now. I'm going to erase the keyboard part. Okay. And if you haven't done so already while I erase this, please like this video. The likes, the comments, all of that really helps my videos perform better. And as long as my videos are performing well, I'm able to make more videos and continue being a full-time teacher here online, providing lessons for free. Thank you. Okay, so then after this we learned another scale, but to learn the next scale we have to, or we should, count up to 5. So if C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, F is 4, and G is 5, or the 5th step. That's where we start our next scale. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. But, and I'm going to need you to look at your keyboard for this part. I'm going to put one here on the screen. Between G and A, there's a whole step. Check. Between A and B, there's a whole step. Check. Between B and C, there's a half step. Check. Between C and D, there's a whole step. Check. Between D and E, there's a whole step. Check. Between E and F right now, there is not a whole step. So we need to move up another half key, turning this into an F sharp. And then that makes it a whole step. And then from F sharp to G, those two notes are adjacent, giving us our half step. So that's how we make the next scale over. We go up to the 5th step of the previous scale, and then we apply the scale pattern. So I'm going to erase my checks, and we're going to build the next scale. So we go up to the 5th step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D. We write our letters from D to D. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and D. And now you always take the sharp that you already have and apply it to the next scale. And I also taught you an order of sharps. So now there's 2 ways for you to make this scale match this pattern. You can go note by note, as we did with the previous one, or you can remember the order of sharps, which is fat cows go down and eat bread. So that's how I like to remember it. Fat cows go down and eat bread. So that's the order of sharps. We've already got F sharp, so the next one would be C sharp. So C major scale has no sharps or flats. This is called natural. G major scale has 1 sharp. D major scale has 2 sharps. And so we can reduce, or we can start to form the scales much more easily with these patterns, right? So what's the next scale that we're gonna write out? Well, we go to the 5th step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We write the letters from A to A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. And we know this is going to have 3 sharps because it's the next scale. And we can add some sharps already because we're going to borrow the ones from the previous scale. And we can either apply the steps, a whole, half, or you can remember your order of sharps. Fat cows go. And we only need 3 because we already wrote that note to ourselves. And you can continue writing more major scales using this pattern. The last thing that we did is we started building our circle of fifths. And it's called a circle of fifths because every time you add a new scale, you're going by the 5th step. So I asked you to draw a circle and then to label it like you would a clock: 12, 6, 3, 9, and then 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11. And what is our first scale that we learned that has no sharps, nothing fancy? Let's see. What was the fifth step of C, or the next scale over? G, that has 1 sharp. What's the next scale over? D, with 2 sharps. Next scale over? A, with 3 sharps. And you know what's next? E, with 4 sharps. What's next? B, with 5 sharps. And what's next? Well, that's a tricky one. You really need to write your scales down to see that the fifth step of B is actually already an F sharp. And if you wanted to finish all your sharps, you'd end up with C sharp at the 7 sharps. But if you download the PDF, I've given you a chart with all of them written out already. So it's good to have to check your work against something. Now there are scales on the other side. We will learn those in a future lesson. But this is how you start to build the circle of fifths. And honestly, you don't need to build the circle of fifths. It's mostly about understanding it. Like, I try to think about scientists and the periodic table. While it's good to understand the theory behind it, it's also used as a reference or a guide for determining other things. So the circle of fifths can be the musician's periodic table. Now, if you're enjoying these lessons, please let me know in the comments below. If you have questions, I will also be answering everything in the comments. So I'll write your questions in the comments down below. And if you'd like to support the channel in any way, the best thing you can do is hit the like button, share the video with someone, and leaving comments, or joining the Patreon community. There's different ways where you can support the channel. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you in the next lesson where we're learning something new. Let me know if this review helped you as well. We will have future review sessions throughout this course. Alrighty, see you in the next one. Ciao!